All right, so for my topic, I looked at a little article from Twinfinite.net. You used to write there.
My old stomping grounds.
Yeah. And I kind of want to talk about the future of Microsoft's first-party games, but they interviewed Aaron Greenberg, and within that, they talked about the fact that Microsoft had recently acquired 8 studios, and all of those studios are working on multiple projects. And in this interview, Greenberg states that there are no current plans of taking those first-party games to other platforms. And real quick, before we get into the discussion, I just wanted to quickly go through those 8 studios and what they're sort of known for. So they, in the last year, they acquired Obsidian Entertainment, which you may know from Pillars of Eternity, Fallout New Vegas, In Exile Entertainment. They did the Bard's Tale 4, Mage's Tale, Ninja Theory, which you'll know for Hellblade: Senua's Sacrifice.
And the latest game they're working on that's going to kill Overwatch, destroy it, put it into the ground, dude, for all time, forever and for all time. Bleeding Edge.
You would be right if not for the fact that I've been reminded by many people that Overwatch is a dead game. I've been told that since launch, since before launch. Playground Games, which you'll know from the Forza series. Compulsion Games, which you'll know from We Happy Few. Undead Labs, who did State of Decay and State of Decay 2. The Initiative, which is kind of a new thing, and they don't really have a history yet.
They're working on a quad A game.
Yes. But their studio head, Daryl Gallagher, was formerly the head guy at Crystal Dynamics, so you may know them from Tomb Raider. Mojang, which made Minecraft.
That's all they need to make.
Yes.
That's all they will continue to make.
Sorry. I read something strange. Oh yeah, my camera fell over. That's great. And Rare, which that's not a recent acquisition. So I'm actually getting into the older games now that I've scrolled through this list a little far. And I'm not sure I hit all 8. There were a few more picked up.
Double Fine.
Yeah, Double Fine.
Double Fine.
That was the most recent acquisition.
Yeah. So, but I mean, that gives you an idea. And for me, let's start here. This is just really exciting. Oh, let me say one more thing. In this interview, Greenberg also told us that we can expect to see games at XO this year that we haven't seen before, and that Microsoft is going to have the biggest spring lineup that they've ever had. So that's all very exciting. A few weeks ago, I put in as my topic and did not go with it that it was going to be, do I actually believe that Microsoft is going to do anything to improve their issue of lacking first-party exclusives? So how are you guys feeling about where Microsoft is sitting right now? Which of these studios are you most excited about? Do you have any wild speculation on what you think we might see at XO from some of these companies? What are you thinking about Microsoft's future with all these recent acquisitions?
I think that if they feel good, I feel good. I mean, look, the studios they've acquired are studios that a lot of them I like. I really like Ninja Theory. They also acquired the studio that makes State of Decay. I can't remember what they're called, but the State of Decay games are great. I don't have much of a history with Double Fine, but I know that they've made some beloved titles. And so I think what intrigues me the most about Xbox's first-party lineup now is the diversity of games that are being made. The Ninja Theory thing just blows my mind. Like, they just made Hellblade, which is this awesome, like, single-player experience, and now they've just announced Bleeding Edge, which is this, like, action-packed multiplayer melee combat, like kind of Overwatch-esque hero combat game. And like, not only is it diversity of the studios they've acquired, but like the studios that they've acquired have diversity within themselves as well in terms of the games that they're going to make. So, which I think if you look at Sony, is something that Sony really lacks. in terms of the games that they're making. Like, you think about the most popular games in Sony's lineup right now, they're mostly, I would say 80% of them are third-person action games. Like, there's not a ton of diversity in the kinds of games that are being made. I don't think that takes away from the merit of the greatness of those games. It's just, I look at what Xbox has in the pipeline, and I'm a little bit more excited about that, because it's just like, there's going to be tons of options.
There's also a diversity in the size of the scale and size of these games and studios. You got 343, and you have the Initiative, Quad A, whatever the hell that is.
The most marketing speak shit ever.
I know. And then you have smaller studios like Double Fine, which has historically created smaller scale games, more kind of old school games. I am excited about the diversity, although I find it sometimes hard to get excited about the games themselves just based on the pedigree of the studios, and that's a personal thing. A lot of these studios have created games that I didn't really enjoy or haven't been super jazzed about, but I know a lot of people do. And a lot of these studios are like somewhere either on the indie side or in the middle, which is interesting. And that's a great place to be. I think it is notable that like Ninja Theory has multiple teams working, so it does, and they indicated that when people responded like, we were expecting something single player and narrative driven, they are working on something related to that too. But that speaks to, again, as you said, Luke, the diversity of the portfolio that these studios have, and the diversity of the portfolio Xbox has kind of collected. What I'm actually most excited about is for a lot of these studios, now being under the Microsoft umbrella takes a lot of the pressure off. Like, especially for Double Fine, a studio that I am a huge fan of, they've constantly struggled with worrying about selling enough copies, constantly worrying about if the funding they have will drop out, if they'll be able to make it to the finish line with their games. And Microsoft swooping in to scoop them up kind of takes a lot of that pressure off. They know who Double Fine are, obviously. They know the kind of games Double Fine makes, and they were comfortable enough with that to go ahead and acquire them. So that speaks to their confidence in Double Fine as a studio.
Yeah.
There's also a strategy alignment, I think, in like viewing what Netflix has to do in order to maintain interest in their subscription service. It's all about like what content's coming up next. Okay, I'm done binge watching Mindhunter. Like, okay, but The Witcher's coming here, and
it's about volume.
You know, like it's about what's coming next. And with Xbox Game Pass, I think they understand, like, and he talks about it in this article as well, like how it kind of rocked the world when they announced that Sea of Thieves was going to be day and date on Xbox Game Pass, and rocked it even more when they said this is going to be standard for us moving forward. But in order to continue with that momentum and to maintain it, you have to say like, oh, well, yeah, we know you just got done playing Bleeding Edge, but here's Double Fine's next game, you know, like, and then here's, you know, whoever else's next game. So I think there's a strategy thing to it that is really important for them.
So I'm with you on the thing that's most exciting to me is the diversity, just different size studios, different histories, vastly different games across the board here. And I've said many times that I've been just so disappointed this console generation with what Microsoft had to offer as far as first party exclusives. And I feel like I've missed out on a lot of great gaming because I chose to go the Xbox route. And if this wasn't something they were going to demonstrate that they were improving, like I was probably just going to go PlayStation next generation. But this laying all this out, I'm just so optimistic about the games that are going to be available in the future, and I'm inclined to just stick around for whatever Xbox is going to do.
I will point out that when Larry says he feels like he missed out on a lot of great gaming, he just means putting 150 hours into Until Dawn. That's all he means.
Oh, no, dude. Last of Us, Horizon Zero Dawn, Until Dawn, sure. God of War, yes. And that was a series I was never interested in, but this most recent take on it was just so different. But one thing that really interests me is a couple of these studios have a history that includes some RPG games. And I feel like I've not gotten into a really good RPG in a long time. There were some options on PlayStation this generation, but really there weren't on Xbox, except for the 3 times I bought Skyrim. And each time I bought Skyrim, it was just a really similar experience to the last time I bought Skyrim. So I don't really want to buy Skyrim again, but I'll try.
Truth.
Don't worry,
Bethesda will try the fridge one, but
Bethesda will give you more opportunities to buy Skyrim. Don't you worry.
So that I'm kind of hoping I'll see something in that vein at EXO. But more than that, I want something in the horror genre. That's another area where the PlayStation really shined this generation, and Xbox had nothing. So that's what I'm hoping to see. So something I kind of want to point out is I think that you're absolutely right, Luke, that they're about to play the Netflix volume game of making sure that they have plenty to offer on Games Pass. And they've got to do that to keep that going. But I also shared an article in our Discord earlier today where there was conversation about wanting to see Games Pass happen on other platforms. So we know that that's something that's on the radar for Xbox, even if it's not a near future thing. We know that xCloud is something that they're actively working toward. And so I guess my question is the vision of extending those services onto other platforms at odds with the idea of first-party exclusives?
I think Greenberg was very, very careful to say that they are working on games for their platforms, not for their consoles, but for their platforms, to say that, hey, you may be able to play this game on your phone or maybe even on the Switch if Xbox Game Pass even comes there, but that would still be considered Xbox's platform. You know, like if you've got Spotify, you're not like, well, I'm listening to this on my Samsung. You're saying I'm listening to this on Spotify, you know? So I think he was very intentional about that verbiage. So yes, I don't think they're going to be like, hey, here's the little cartridge that tastes terrible. You can play Halo on your Nintendo Switch now. It's all going to be, you can play this on your Switch through Xbox Game Pass, which is available on there now.
Yeah, I think it's an interesting question, and I think it also kind of indicates, like you were saying, Luke, what their idea of Xbox is. I think their idea of Xbox is to, at a risk of sounding like Jaden Smith, Xbox is everything.
How can Xbox be real when our eyes aren't real?
But I think they're thinking of, like you said, their platforms are anything that has Xbox Game Pass or Xbox Live on it. And I think that's diverging from what we've traditionally thought of as console exclusive or platform exclusive. But that seems to be the direction that this generation is going. And in fact, my worry is that they might be too far ahead of the curve, but it seems like they're being very cautious about this and being very careful about the way they talk about it.
Yeah. And so my worry with that is, are they pushing themselves out of the hardware space? Are we still at a place where first party exclusives are a big necessity to sell your hardware? And if I can play all of PlayStation's exclusives, I know we're far off from this, but if we get to a point where I can play all of PlayStation's exclusives and all of Xbox's exclusives from a PlayStation, how many people bother buying an Xbox?
I don't think we're ever going to see the day where Xbox makes Game Pass available on a platform that is equally as powerful as their Xbox hardware. I think that's the way you gate it, because there are always going to be people who want to play on hardware, like play locally hosted. I don't see Xbox Game Pass functioning similarly on like your phone or on the Switch, where you would download it directly and play it off of it, because that's just not how the system's built. There would have to be some sort of cloud computing that was in it. And so I think that's the way that you gate it, because even me, like the way I would primarily play those games would never be on Switch or on mobile. It would always be primarily on the hardware that they're natively made for, with those things like being supplemental to the experience, but it's the ultimate way to take advantage of like the we want everything on Switch kind of deal, though. Because if you can say, look at this giant ass library we have that you can play via cloud on your Switch, just a huge win right there.
All right. Well, that's all I've got, but I encourage the viewers to go through and look at that article on Twinfinite, that interview with Aaron Greenberg, because there was a lot of information there, and I am really excited to see XO this year. I'm excited to see what's coming in the spring, and it feels good because it's been a long time since I had excitement in the arena of Microsoft game lineups.
Yeah, I actually have a quick question, because this is something I was thinking about for XO. When and where do you think we'll see whatever the initiative is working on? That's my biggest question mark about Microsoft, because it seems they've put a lot of stock in this. They've called it like a Naughty Dog style, whatever kind of game they're making, narrative, AAA, blockbuster kind of game. When and where do you think we'll see that?
With the scale that they're talking, and just still how new that is, I'm not anticipating seeing that at XO. I think that's an E3 next year kind of thing.
I 100% think it's an E3.
I think it's either an E3 or whatever event they reveal the next Xbox at.
You cut out for me. I didn't hear that. Sorry.
Oh, I said it'll either be an E3 thing or whatever event they reveal the. Did I cut out again? I keep cutting out. All right. I'll type it in the chat for you guys. It's either going to be E3 or whatever event they reveal the next Xbox at. So, which won't be at E3, because they didn't reveal the Xbox One at E3, did they? They revealed it before and then gave more details, I think. So, and I think that's the model they'll continue to follow. So, it'll be at one of those. It won't be at XO, because they're going to want to show that on the most high end. And to be able to couple that reveal with the messaging of like, look what the next Xbox is capable of, they're gonna want to bank on that.
And we're launching a console with an actual lineup of games.
Yeah, we've just heard so little about it. That's the most interesting thing to me.
What if they're just working on Rise 2?
I would fucking throw my computer out the window.
You heard it here first, folks. Rise 2, big announcement at E3.
I'm just like, it's been so long since we've seen a new IP from Microsoft, like a quality new IP
that made it to market.
That made it to market. There are a lot of caveats to that.
Scalebound looked awesome. Which that wasn't Xbox owned, it was just Xbox exclusive.
Yeah. But yeah, I'm just very interested by that. So I didn't get to mention that before, but that's one of the most intriguing, still big question marks to me about Microsoft.
Yeah. Well, and you know what? I could honestly see them holding off for another year. It's not going to release in the first year of the next Xbox. The first year is going to be Halo. Yep. All Halo. Yeah.
It's all going to be Halo.
And that may be to the detriment of the release, but it's going to all be Halo. So they may not even want to distract from that with whatever the initiative's working on.
I could see that launching the next year.